Hi, my name is Anthony. I'm 68 years old and I want to share with you a story that completely changed my life. Everything started about 2 years ago when my daughter Emily came to visit me and was horrified by my breakfast. I confess that after my wife Claire passed away 5 years ago, I had developed some very unhealthy habits. On that specific morning, as on all others, my breakfast consisted of a bowl of instant oatmeal with chocolate syrup, 2 frozen waffles that I heated in the microwave, and coffee with 3 spoons of sugar. Emily, who is a nutritionist, sat with me and, with her loving way, began to explain why I was harming myself. "You know, Dad," she said, "after 60, our body becomes more sensitive to these processed foods." I confess that at first I became defensive. After all, it was so convenient. Just 3 minutes in the microwave and my breakfast was ready. But then I started to notice some signals my body was sending me. First, I noticed that I always felt very sleepy after breakfast. I thought it was normal, just part of aging. Then my blood pressure started to rise. Dr. Paul, my cardiologist for 15 years, showed me the numbers. 15/9. It was too high. That's when I decided to do an experiment. Follow Emily's advice for a month. In the beginning, it was difficult, I won't lie. I had to relearn how to prepare my breakfast. Emily taught me to make overnight oats, as she calls it. It's very simple. Before going to bed, I put 5 spoons of rolled oats, not instant, in a glass jar, cover it with milk, add a spoon of chia seeds, and leave it in the refrigerator. In the morning, it's ready to eat. I add some chopped fruits like banana or apple, and a little cinnamon. But Dad, what about time? You might be thinking. Well, I discovered that I can prepare some things in advance. Every Sunday, I cook 6 eggs and leave them in the refrigerator. In the morning, when I don't want oatmeal, I slice one, put it on whole wheat toast with a little olive oil, and it's done. A nutritious and quick breakfast. The change wasn't just in the food. I started to notice that my energy was different. Before around 10 in the morning, I was already napping in my armchair. Now I can take my walk in the park, solve the crossword puzzle in the newspaper, and still have energy left to take care of my small garden. My granddaughter Sophia, 12 years old, noticed the difference. "Grandpa, you're more animated," she said one Sunday afternoon when I managed to play hide and seek with her in the backyard. That was priceless. But the biggest surprise came 3 months later during my consultation with Dr. Paul. My blood pressure had dropped to 12/8. He was impressed and asked what I had changed. When I told him about the breakfast modifications, he smiled and said, "See? Sometimes medicine is on the plate, not in the pill." Today, I make a point of sharing my experience in the senior group I attend on Wednesdays. Many friends have already started making similar changes. Mrs. Thompson, my 73-year-old neighbor, even asked me for the overnight oats recipe. I learned that we don't need to settle for processed foods just because they're more convenient. With a little planning and organization, we can have a healthy and tasty breakfast. And the best part, our body appreciates it. My joints hurt less. My memory has improved. Now I rarely forget where I put my glasses. And that constant feeling of fatigue has practically disappeared. Do you want to know how I started this change? I'll share my practical tips. I started slowly, replacing one item at a time. First week, I replaced instant oatmeal with traditional oats. I bought glass jars to prepare overnight oats. I have 3 so I can prepare for several days. I discovered I can freeze chopped fruits in small portions. When they're too ripe, I chop and freeze them in bags. Perfect for not wasting. I started waking up 15 minutes earlier. It seems little, but it makes all the difference to not have to rush during breakfast. After managing to get rid of processed foods, I thought I was on the right path to a completely healthy diet. Little did I know I was making another common mistake, especially on mornings when I felt more healthy. It all started when Emily, my daughter, came to have breakfast with me again. Proud, I showed her my new routine. I had replaced frozen waffles and instant oatmeal, but I was starting my day with a large glass of industrialized orange juice, those that claim to be 100% natural, a pot of strawberry yogurt, which I thought was healthy because it had fruit pieces, and a slice of whole wheat cake I bought at the bakery. Emily smiled in that way only she knows, picked up the juice glass and started reading the label. "Dad, do you know how many sugar spoons are in this juice glass?" 6. And that's not counting the fruit yogurt, which has another 4 spoons. I was perplexed. "But sweetie, it's orange juice. And the yogurt has fruits, it must be good." Emily then explained something that completely changed my view about refined sugars. "Dad, after 60, our body becomes more sensitive to sugar. Remember when you said you sometimes feel that strong sleepiness after breakfast, even though you slept well? Or that irritability that suddenly appears around 10 in the morning? It's all because of this sugar roller coaster in your blood." Then I remembered Mrs. Rodriguez, my friend from the exercise group. She always said she had sugar in her blood, as we used to call diabetes back then. I started to realize I might be heading toward the same problem. Emily then proposed a new challenge: 2 weeks without refined sugars at breakfast. I confess that at first I thought it would be impossible. How would I start my day without my precious juice glass? But she had a plan. On the first day, we prepared a homemade smoothie together. She taught me the recipe: half a banana, some fresh strawberries, a glass of milk and a spoon of oats. We blended everything in the blender. "Dad, try this. The sweetness you're feeling is only from the fruits without any additional sugar." I was surprised by the taste. It was sweet, yes, but in a different way, more natural. Emily then explained that when we eat the whole fruit or in a homemade smoothie, sugar is absorbed more slowly by our body because of the fibers. It's like a controlled release of energy. As the days went by, I started making my own discoveries. I noticed that chopped apple with cinnamon in natural yogurt had an incredible flavor. Cinnamon, besides naturally sweetening, helped control my blood sugar, according to Emily. When I had more time, I would prepare an avocado smoothie with milk without sugar. At first I found it strange, but then I discovered that avocado made the smoothie creamy and satisfying. An interesting discovery happened when I went for my routine exams. Dr. Paul noticed that my blood sugar, which was on the borderline in previous consultations, had dropped considerably. "What did you change, Mr. Anthony?" he asked, curious. When I told him about the changes in my breakfast, especially the elimination of refined sugars, he smiled, satisfied. "You know, Mr. Anthony, you're doing exactly what I always recommend to my patients, but few follow. After 60, our pancreas, the organ that produces insulin to control blood sugar, no longer works with the same efficiency. When we bombard our body with refined sugar early in the morning, it's like giving it a sudden jolt. I started paying more attention to food labels. It was a shock. I found sugar in products I never would have imagined, like that morning cereal that claimed to be a source of fiber, and the whole wheat bread I bought. Emily taught me that sugar appears with various different names on labels: glucose syrup, dextrose, sucrose, and other terms ending in O's. The most significant change I noticed was in my energy throughout the day. Before, it was like I was on a roller coaster, very energetic right after breakfast, but with a sharp drop in energy just a few minutes later. Now my energy remains stable throughout the morning. Another unexpected benefit was the improvement in my sleep. I didn't know, but all that sugar at breakfast was affecting my sleep cycle. Emily explained that blood sugar fluctuations can interfere with sleep quality, even when we consume the sugar early in the morning. I'll share some here. Instead of industrialized juice, I prepare flavored water with orange slices and mint leaves. I replaced industrialized fruit yogurt with natural yogurt with fresh chopped fruits. I learned to make banana pancakes. Just mash a ripe banana with an egg and a spoon of oats. I discovered that raisins can be great for naturally sweetening oatmeal. After learning about processed foods and refined sugars, I thought I was already an expert in healthy eating. To help other people my age, I created a small notebook with alternatives to replace refined sugars at breakfast. But fate had other plans for my learning journey. It was during a Sunday barbecue with family that everything changed. It was a special day, my 69th birthday. As usual, my son Richard organized a barbecue in the backyard. Early in the morning, following my old Sunday tradition, I prepared my special breakfast: eggs fried in butter, 3 slices of crispy bacon, toasted French bread with a generous layer of butter, and of course, that coffee with whole milk. "Dad, we need to talk about this plate." It was Emily again, my nutritionist daughter, with that worried expression I knew well. She sat with me and began to explain about saturated fats, those that remain solid at room temperature, like butter and bacon fat. "Have you noticed how this fat gets hard when it cools? Imagine that inside your arteries," she said, pointing to the solidified fat on the edge of my plate. I confess that comparison gave me a chill down my spine. Then Richard, who was passing by, joined the conversation. "Dad, remember Uncle Carlos? How could I forget? My older brother had suffered a heart attack at 65, precisely during a Sunday breakfast after his traditional fatty meal. At that moment, something clicked in my head. I remembered my last checkup with Dr. Paul. My cholesterol was 245, well above the recommended level. He had warned me about this, but I confess I didn't pay proper attention. After all, I always thought high cholesterol was a family thing. Emily, noticing my concern, proposed a new challenge, restructuring my breakfast, focusing on good fats. "Dad, you don't need to give up flavor. We just need to make smarter choices." The next day, she came to my house and taught me some alternatives. The first change was replacing butter with avocado. I confess that initially I turned up my nose. Avocado for breakfast? But when I tried whole wheat toast with mashed avocado, a drizzle of olive oil and a pinch of salt, I was impressed. It was delicious. The eggs remained on the menu, but now prepared differently. Instead of fried in butter, I learned to make them poached, cooked in boiling water, or boiled. Emily explained that the egg itself isn't the villain, it's even good for health. The problem was the amount of butter I used for frying. Bacon was the most difficult change. It was my Sunday darling. Emily suggested I try smoked salmon as a replacement. "Dad, salmon has good fats, those that help protect the heart." Initially, I found it expensive, but when she showed me that I could buy it in small portions and that the health benefits compensated for the investment, I decided to try. An interesting discovery was about the medications I took for high blood pressure. Doctor Paul always warned me that I should take them on an empty stomach, but sometimes I took them with my fatty breakfast. Emily explained that saturated fats can interfere with the absorption of some medications, reducing their effectiveness. I started incorporating seeds into my breakfast: flaxseed, chia, and sesame. I learned to grind them at the moment of use to better appreciate their nutrients. A tablespoon of this mixture over oatmeal or yogurt not only gave a special flavor, but also provided good fats. The most surprising change was related to my joint pain. I always thought they were just things that come with age, but about a month after reducing saturated fats, I noticed that the pain had considerably decreased. Emily explained that saturated fats can increase inflammation in the body, aggravating problems like arthritis. I created a new routine for family Sundays. Instead of the traditional fatty breakfast, I now prepare a colorful table with different healthy options: avocado spread, boiled eggs, smoked salmon, fresh fruits, nuts, and seeds. My grandkids love helping to assemble the plates, and Richard jokes that my breakfast now looks like a digital influencer's. To my surprise, other family members started following my example. My sister Teresa, who also has high cholesterol, asked for all the recipes. Even my son-in-law Paul, who was completely averse to dietary changes, started experimenting with my innovations after seeing my improved disposition. After 3 months following these changes, I returned to Dr. Paul for new exams. My cholesterol had dropped to 180. He was impressed and asked me to share my strategies with other patients. Some practical tips I learned on this journey. I replaced butter with avocado spread or homemade hummus. I started using extra virgin olive oil in moderation. I incorporated nuts and seeds into breakfast. 1 tablespoon is sufficient. I learned new ways to prepare eggs without extra fat. I discovered that sardines are also a great fatty fish option for breakfast. I started reading food labels, paying special attention to trans and saturated fats. A year has passed since I began this transformation journey. When I look back, I can hardly believe how much my life changed due to some simple breakfast decisions. Who would have thought that at 69, I could still learn so much and reinvent myself? Yesterday, during my annual checkup with Dr. Paul, I received the best possible news. All my exams were practically perfect: blood pressure 12/8, cholesterol 175, fasting glucose 90. "Mr. Anthony," he said, "you are living proof that it's never too late to change. You're healthier now than you were 10 years ago." And it wasn't just the numbers that improved. My quality of life took a complete turn. Remember my sleepiness after breakfast? A thing of the past. Now, every morning after having my balanced breakfast, I take a 40-minute walk in the park near my house. I always meet Mrs. Thompson, who also changed her habits after I shared my discoveries. I created a small group at the senior center called Healthy Breakfast. We meet every Thursday to exchange recipes and experiences. Emily sometimes participates as a special guest, explaining nutrition concepts in a way everyone can understand. Last week, we taught how to make chickpea spread to replace butter. It was a success. My grandkids have also jumped on the bandwagon. Sophia, now 13, loves preparing colorful smoothies when she visits me. Little Michael, 8, created a funny song about Grandpa's foods that he sings while helping me prepare overnight oats. It's amazing how children absorb good habits when they see adults setting an example. Richard and Emily organized a surprise party to celebrate my 1 year of changes. It was emotional to see the entire family gathered, each bringing a healthy breakfast dish. My daughter-in-law made a sugar-free whole wheat banana cake, using only the natural sweetness of fruits. Who would have thought I'd one day find this more delicious than those frozen waffles I used to consume? One of the greatest joys was being able to return to my garden. Before, joint pain prevented me from taking care of plants. Now, I have a small herb bed, mint, basil, rosemary, that I use to flavor my meals without needing extra salt or fat. I did the calculations the other day. I saved a good amount of money by reducing the quantity of processed and industrialized foods I was buying. Of course, some things like smoked salmon and nuts are more expensive, but since I buy fewer industrialized products, I have money left at the end of the month. Not to mention the savings on medications. I've already managed, under medical supervision, to reduce the dosage of 2 medications I was taking. The other day, I found a photo of myself from a year ago, and the difference is visible. It's not just the weight that changed. I lost 7 pounds without any crazy diet, but mainly the expression. For those starting this journey now, I leave some advice I learned along the way. Start slowly. One small change at a time makes all the difference. Don't give up at the first obstacles. The body needs time to adapt. Be creative with substitutions. There's always a healthier and tastier alternative. Share your discoveries. Helping others keeps us motivated. Celebrate each small victory. Every step is important today. At 69, I feel like I'm living a new phase of life. My eyes are more alive, my posture more upright, my smile more frequent. Emily says it's the reflection of a well-cared-for body. I have more disposition to play with my grandkids, energy to take care of my garden, and enthusiasm to make plans for the future. Next month, I'm going to start dance classes at the community center, something I would never have had the courage to do before. And it all started with a simple breakfast change. As Dr. Paul says, sometimes the best medicine is on the plate, not in the pill. It's never too late to start over, to learn, to take better care of yourself. Age is just a number. What matters is how we feel inside. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's time to prepare my overnight oats. Tomorrow I have a full day ahead. Walk in the park, beginner gardening class. Now I'm the one giving the classes. And in the afternoon, I'm going to help Emily record a video about healthy eating for seniors. Who would have thought that at 69, I would become a healthy breakfast influencer? Life truly never stops surprising us. And the best part of all is knowing that I'm more prepared than ever to enjoy each moment of it. After all, as my granddaughter Sophia says, "Grandpa, you're now a 69-year-old young man."